Yes, Miss All.
Someone's moved with the exam papers.
Could you go get the door, will you, doctor?
I'm practically not a doctor yet. Can I help you?
Mr. Holmes, I trust you could spare me a few of your hours of your valuable time. A very painful incident has happened at St. Luke's, and for the happy chance of you being in town, I should have been at loss of what to do.
I was very busy studying just now, and I desire no distraction.
No, my dear sir, such a course is utterly impossible. This is just one of those cases where, for the credit of the college, it is most essential to avoid scandal. Please, Mr. Holmes, I beg you to do what you can. Well, first, I must explain to you, Mr. Holmes, that tomorrow is the first day of the examination for the FOTAS scholarship. I am one of the examiners. My subject is Greek, and the first of the papers consists of a large passage of Greek translation, which the candidate has not seen. Great care is taken to keep the paper a secret. I had promised to take tea in friend's room and was gone for rather more than an hour. When I returned, I approached the door and was amazed to see a key in it. For an instant, I had imagined that I had left my own there. The only duplicate which I knew existed belonged to Bannister, my servant, who had took care of my room for 10 years. I found out that the key indeed belonged to him, that he had came to my room to ask if I wanted tea and had very carelessly left the key there. When I approached my table, I was aware that someone had rummaged through my papers, for the proofs were in 3 long pages and I had left them all together. But then I found one on the floor, one by the table near the window, and one was where I left it.
The first page on the floor, the second in the window, the third where you left it.
Why, yes, Mr. Holmes, you amaze me. How could you possibly know that? For an instant, I imagined that Bannister had taken the unpardonable liberty of examining my papers. But he denied it, and I'm convinced that he's speaking the truth. Bannister was very much upset by that incident. He nearly fainted when we found out that the papers had been undoubtedly been tampered with. I gave him a little brandy and left him collapsed in a chair, while I made a most careful examination of the room. On the table near the window were several shreds from a pencil which had been sharpened. A broken tip of lead was lying there also. Evidently, the rascal had copied the paper in a great hurry, had broken his pencil, and had been compelled to put a fresh point to it.
Excellent! Fortune has been your friend.
I was at my wit's end when this happened, but suddenly the happy thought occurred to me that you were in town. Please, Mr. Holmes, I beg you to do what you can. You see my dilemma. Either I must find the man or fresh papers must be made, and since this cannot be done without proper explanation, this will ensue a hideous scandal and throw a cloud over the name of the college and the university. Would you do it if I would offer you one of my finest curry puffs?
A curry puff, Miss Holmes?
Why, yes, Mr. Holmes. I make the most delicious curry puffs in town.
I shall be happy to look into it and to give such advice that I can.
The case is not entirely devoid of interest. Had anyone visited you in your room before the papers came to you?
Yes, Dowlot Russ came in to ask me some particulars about the examination.
For which he was entered,
Yes,
and the papers were on your table.
to my best belief, they were rolled up.
But might be recognized as proofs?
Yes,
Did this man Bannister know?
no one knew.
Then where is he now?
He was very ill. Poor fellow, I left him collapsed on the chair.
Then it amounts to this, Miss Holmes, that the Indian student recognized the roll as proofs. The man who tampered with them came upon them accidentally without knowing that they were there.
So it seems so.
Well, let us go round. Not one of your cases, Dr. Watson. Mental, not physical. Now, come if you want to. Mrs. Holmes, at your disposal. He must have entered through this door. There's no opening except for this one pane. Dear me! If there's nothing left to be learned over here, we had best to go inside. I'm afraid there's no sign here. You left your servant here. You say which chair?
Over there by the window.
Ah, I see, near this little table. I'm done with the carpet. You can come in now. Let us take this little table over here. You see, what happened was very clear. He entered to the door and took the papers sheet by sheet from the central table. Then, he took it to the window table.
As a matter of fact, he could not have, for I entered by the side door.
Ah, that's good. If that's the case, let me see the 3 strips. No finger impressions, no. Let's see. He took the first strip and he copied it. Then he tossed it and seized the next. He was in the midst of it when you returned. Are you aware of any hurrying footsteps when you returned?
No, I can't say I was.
Well, he wrote so furiously that he broke his pencil. This is of interest, Watson. This is not an ordinary pencil. It's above the usual size. It has soft lead and it has silver lettering over it. Now look, Miss Soames. If you look for such pencil, you've got your man.
I can follow the other points, but really in this matter of length?
This small pellet here is, I suppose, the black doughy mass you spoke of. It's pyramidal in shape and it's hollowed out, I perceive. And there's also grains of sawdust in it. Dear me, this is interesting. And the cut's a positive tear. It began with a thin scratch and it ended in a jagged hole. I'm much indebted to you for directing my attention to this case, Miss Soames. Let us be practical. There are 3 students who are in the habit of using the stairs and are passing by your door.
Yes, there are.
And they are all in for this examination.
Yes.
Have you have any reasons to suspect any one of them other than the others?
I will tell you then in a few words the character of the 3 men who inhabit these rooms. The lower of the 3 is Gilchrist, a fine scholar and athlete, plays in the running team and the cricket team for the college, and got his blue for the hurdles and the long jump. His father was the notorious Sir Jabez Gilchrist, who ruined himself on the turf. My scholar has been left very poor, but he is hardworking and industrious. He will do well. The second floor is inhabited by Daulat Ras, the Indian. He is a quiet, intractable fellow, as most of those Indians are. He is well up in his work, though his Greek is his weak subject. The top floor belongs to Miles Maclaren. He is a brilliant fellow when he chooses to work, one of the brightest intellects of the university, but he is unprincipled. He was nearly expelled over a card scandal in the first year.
Then it is he whom you suspect.
I dare not go as far as that, but among the 3 of them, he is perhaps the least unlikely.
Exactly now, Miss Soames. Let me take a look at your servant, Bannister. I understand that you left the keys in the door.
Yes, sir.
When did you enter the room?
It was about 4:30. That is Miss Soames' tea time.
Have you seen these papers on the table?
No, sir, certainly not.
How came you to leave the keys in the door?
I had my tea tray in my hand. I thought I would come back for the key, but I forgot.
Oh, so it was open all the time?
Yes, sir.
When Mrs. Soames returned and called for you, you were very much disturbed?
Yes, sir. Such a thing has never happened during the many years that I have been here. I nearly fainted, sir.
So I understand. Where were you when you began to feel bad?
Where was I, sir? Why? Here, near the door.
That is singular, because you sat down in that chair over yonder in the corner. Why did you pass these other chairs?
I don't know, sir. It didn't matter to me where I sat.
I really don't think he knew much about it, Mr. Holmes. He was looking very bad, quite ghastly actually.
I'm sorry to
to interrupt, but it would be inappropriate for me to not offer something to eat. Does anyone want tea? Probably a curry puff?
No, thank you, madam.
I'd love a cup of tea.
Excellent.
Whom do you suspect?
Oh, I would not venture to say, sir. I don't believe there is any gentleman in this university who is capable of profiting by such an action. No, sir, I will not believe it.
Tea is ready.
Thank you, that will do. Very good. Now, Mrs. Soames, we will take a walk in the quadrangle, if you please.
Thank you for having us, Mrs. Bannister.
Look, all your 3 birds are all in their nests.
It appears so.
Hello, what's that? One of them seems restless enough. Is it possible to have a peep at each of them?
No difficulty in the world.
Professor, it's lovely to see you. Is everything alright?
Yes, Mila, everything is fine. Have you done studying for tomorrow's big examination?
No, I have a few more chapters to be done with.
Well, good luck with that then.
Thank you, Professor. See you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Hi, Mila. Well, this set of room is quite the oldest, and it is not unusual for visitors to go over them.
No names, please.
Hello.
And this is Daulat's room.
Thank you very much. So, this is the third student's chamber.
Yes?
I would like to come in if you don't mind.
We are very busy here, sir.
I don't care who you are, you can go to blazes. Tomorrow's the exam and I won't be joined by anyone.
Sorry.
And I wish you very good night, Miss Soames.
Good gracious, Mr. Holmes, you surely are not going to leave me in this abrupt position. And tomorrow is the examination. You don't seem to realize the position I am in.
You must leave it as it is, Miss Soames. Meanwhile, I'll drop by tomorrow morning and talk the matter over. Meanwhile, you change nothing at all.
Very good, Mr. Holmes.
You should be very perfectly easy in your mind, Miss Soames. Meanwhile, I'll take the black clay and also the pencil cutting with me. Now, good night, Miss Soames.
Good night, sir.
Well, Watson, what do you think of it?
Quite of a parlor game, sort of a 3-card trick, don't you think? You've got your 3 men. Which one's yours?
The foul mouth at the top. He's the one with the worst record. But the Indian was a sly fellow too. Why should he be pacing at his room at this time?
There's nothing in that. Many people do when they're trying to learn something by heart.
He looked at us in a queer way.
But that fellow does puzzle me.
Who?
Why, Bannister, of course. What's his game anyway?
He impressed me by being such an honest man. By Jove, it's nearly 9. I expect that you'll get your notice or I'll share your downfall. Not. Before we solve the problems of the careless tutor, the innocent servant, and the 3 inspirational students.
Mr. Holmes, thank heavens you've came. I feared that you had given up in despair. Shall the examination proceed?
Yes, let it proceed by all means.
But this rascal?
He shall not compete.
You know him?
I think so. If this matter is not to become public, we must give ourselves certain powers, and to resolve ourselves in a private marshal. You there, if you please, Soames, I'll take the armchair in the middle. I think we are now sufficiently imposing to strike terror against the guilty breast. Kindly ring the bell. Now, Bannister, would you kindly tell us the truth about yesterday's incident?
I have told you everything, sir.
Nothing to add?
Nothing at all, sir.
Well then, I must make some suggestions for you. When you sat down yesterday in the chair, are you trying to hide something or to conceal something?
No, sir, certainly not.
It is only a suggestion. I frankly admit that I am unable to prove it. But it seems probable enough since the moment that Mrs. Soames turned and looked away and you released the man who is hiding in the bedroom.
There was no man, sir.
Ah, that's a pity. Up to now, I know that you have spoken the truth, but now I know you have lied.
There was no man, sir.
Come, Bannister.
No, madam, there was no one.
In that case, you can give us no information. Will you kindly stay in this room and stand near the door? Now, Miss Soames, will you kindly go up and call young Gilchrist to step into your room? Now, Mr. Gilchrist, we are all quite alone here, and no one need ever know one word of what passes between us. We can be perfectly frank with each other. We want to know, Mr. Gilchrist, how you, an honorable man, ever came to commit such an action as that of yesterday.
No, Mr. Gilchrist, I never said a word, never one word.
No, but you have now. Now, sir, you must see that after Bannister's words, your position is hopeless, and that your only chance lies in frank confession. Come. It is human to err, and at least no one can accuse you of being a close criminal. Perhaps it would be easier for you if I were to tell Miss Soames what occurred. What happened was this. This young fellow had employed his afternoon at the athletic grounds, where he had been practicing the jump. Since you mentioned he's an athletic jumper, he returned carrying his jumping shoes, which are provided, as you are aware, with several sharp spikes. As he passed your door, he saw, by means of his great height, these proofs upon your table, and conjectured what they were. No harm would have been done had it not been that, as he passed your door, he perceived the key, which had been left by the carelessness of your servant. A sudden impulse came over him to enter and see if they were indeed the proofs. It was not a dangerous exploit, for he could always pretend that he had simply looked in to ask a question. Well, when he saw that they were indeed the proofs, it was then that he yielded to temptation. He put his shoes on the table. What was it you put on that chair near the window?
Gloves.
He put his gloves on the chair, and he took the proofs, sheet by sheet, to copy them. He thought the tutor must return by the main gate, and that he would see him. As we know, he came back by the side gate. Suddenly, he heard him at the very door. There was no possible escape. He forgot his gloves, but he caught up his shoes and darted into the other room. You observe that the scratch on the table is slight at one side, but deepens in the direction of the bedroom door. I might add that I walked out the athletic grounds this morning, saw that tenacious black clay is used in a jumping pit, and carried away a specimen of it, together with some of the fine tan or sawdust which is strewn over it to prevent the athletic from slipping. Have I told the truth, Mr. Gilchrist?
Yes, sir, it's true.
Have you nothing to add?
May I come in?
Yes, Ifan, please do come in and look at what your brother has done.
I know, Miss Holmes. I'm really sorry. Oh, look, get out, Chris.
Yes, sir, it's all true. I have a letter here, Miss Holmes, which I wrote to you early this morning in the middle of a restless night.
It was before I knew that my sin had me found out. Here is it, ma'am. You will see that I have said I have determined not to go in for the examination. I have been offered a commission in the Rhodesian police and I'm going out to South Africa at once.
Be pleased to hear that you did not intend to profit from your unfair advantage. But why did you change your purpose?
This man set me to the right path.
Come now, Bannister. It will be clear to you from what I have said that only you could have let this young man out, since you were left in the room, and must have locked the door when you went out. As to his escaping by that window, it was incredible. Can you not clear up the last point in this mystery and tell us the reasons for your action?
It was simple enough, sir, if you only had known. But with all your cleverness, it was impossible that you could know. Time was, sir, when I was partner to old Sir David Gilchrist, this young gentleman's father. When he was ruined, I came to the college as servant. I watched his son all I could for the sake of the old days. Wasn't it natural, sir, that I should save him? And wasn't it natural also that I should try to speak to him as his dead father would have done, and make him understand that he could not profit by such a deed? Could you blame me, sir?
No, indeed. Some people call me a genius. Some people call me crazy. But who am I? I'm just a car puff loving student.